Rev up your engines because Toyota
Babe, no.
is one of the most trusted brands ever. And now the largest automotive manufacturer on the planet. Yeah, I'm kind of wigging out right now. Yes, you heard it right. Last year, they finally surpassed the Volkswagen Auto Group. Trusted by our friend Matt Farah and James May, loved by off-roaders, anime fans, and speed junkies. Oh, and of course, fellow YouTuber Scotty Kilmer, who regularly talks bad about every other manufacturer without the mighty Toyota badge. He might not actually be wrong after all. Today, on Blinker Fluid, let's talk about why. Okay, so you've been thinking about buying a house, one that will last for generations. What do? You buy a Toyota house. Or you want a luxury car in front of that house that will go 1,000,000 miles. Well, what do? You buy a Lexus. Or you want a commuter car that's safe and reliable. What do? You buy a Toyota. It's pretty much the answer for everything these days. Now, I don't think it's any secret that Toyotas last forever. I mean, you know that something is universal when it's something Reddit can agree on. I'd love to look at some great examples and explore what makes the cars and the brand so amazing. And first up, you probably heard about it before, is this truck, the Top Gear's bulletproof Toyota Hilux. I'm sure you've seen the clips. They smashed it, let the oceans take it, and then blew it up. It still would not die. Granted, that Hilux was a diesel, which we never got in the United States. It's not like the 22R engine is bad either. It's probably the most reliable four-banger on Earth. And in the 80s, Toyota's 4-pot gas engines were literally the standard by which other cars were judged. But as you know with any recipe, engines are just one part of it. And the Hilux, or just pickup as we call it in States, had a box frame, which made it way stronger. It was geared to make the engine less stressed. And all around the world, these old Toyotas are still used as basically farm equipment. Literally sand, mud, and snow was no match for the minimalistic workhorse from the Japanese automaker. Alongside the greatest 4-cylinder, Toyota also has been cranking out the best V8s, and they stuck one into the luxury sedan called the Lexus LS400. One even went, come here, 1,000,000 miles. You might have seen it since it was driven by a bunch of YouTubers, including, most famously, Matt Farah, who got a ticket for speeding during the final stretch, which actually says a lot. This was 2019. The car was only 220 miles away from 1 million, and it still drove good enough that Matt was comfortable doing 90 miles an hour on the road, and that's insane, right? But Lexus's flagship product was so good when it was introduced, around 5% of the LS400 sedans sold in the first year were silently purchased by competitive car companies to be ripped apart and studied to figure out how Toyota had built such a quality product from the ground up. And that's exactly why Matt's Lexus drove like it was floating on clouds to 7 figures, which, hey, did you notice? We just hit 7 figures on YouTube. Yes, 1 million subscribers. So to commemorate this once-in-a-lifetime moment, we hand-designed this ideal T with the odometer showing 7 figs and beyond. Snag one before they're gone. I'll link to it up here and I'll link to it down in the description. And welcome to the Ideal Fam. Just like when the film crew is gone on their next adventure, you usually find them hanging a camera out the back of, you guessed it, a Yoda. Yeah, you heard me, Top Gear, all those adventures around the world. You know what the film crew used to get around? Land Cruisers, Toyota SUVs. Fleet Crew are Australian film and car specialists. What do you use to get your video in the Outback? Land Cruisers. And you know what our buddy Mr. Regular's new film vehicle is? A good old Toyota SUV. I mean, it is a 4Runner and not a Land Cruiser, but the feeling is the exact same. It's mutual, gets the people going. And every time someone needs a vehicle that they know won't break down, that has to be the backup, the hospital, the mechanic's ride, and has to keep up with pure insanity, it's gotta be a Toyota. And since we're talking about filming cool cars, it's usually a Toyota chasing another legendary Toyota, like the LFA, or of course, is that a Supra? Hell yeah it is! A car that is really only famous for being amazing because people could tune it up to the moon. We did a whole video on it here in our Overdrive series where we break down just how influential the Mark IV Supra really is. But long story short, Toyota built an engine that is basically so well engineered that even though the twin turbo engine only had 320 horsepower stock, people were easily able to figure out how to get 5, 6, and even 700 horsepower from them. Nothing is a bigger testament to Toyota than the Mark IV, because not only were they well built and reliable, they're so well built and so reliable that even after decades of abuse, tuning, and racing, they still hold up. So you're starting to see why Scotty Kilmer really loves Toyota. But Scotty doesn't know that Toyota and me do it in my van every Sunday. Stop looking at me weird. Every Sunday, we really deep dive into why Toyota is, well, Toyota. And well, first off, Japan's premier automaker only uses proven tech. Roughly 40 years ago, Toyota set out to revolutionize the manufacturing process. What was different about their methodology is they allowed for bottom-up refinement to help catch manufacturing issues. Now, what that means in layman terms is that they incentivized any worker assembling the vehicles to spot an issue and quickly report it to their boss to instantly get it investigated and changed. Literally, guys, there was a cord at each assembly location that an employee could just pull if they spotted a defect. And when that cord was pulled, the entire production line would stop and the defect was investigated and fixed. It's called the and-on cord. And it was such a powerful tool that companies like Amazon adopted the concept. Except, if you pull the cord at Amazon, you're probably getting fired. So what Toyota built out of all of this was coined the Toyota Production System, which is a production system based on the philosophy of achieving the complete elimination of all waste in pursuit of the most efficient methods. And it is so good that Honda, Chrysler, Porsche, GM, and most every major automaker has adopted some form of the Toyota Production System, or TPS. And the Toyota way almost single-handedly bailed out Porsche in the 90s from going bankrupt. You see, in 1992, Porsche turned to Toyota engineers to implement the just-in-time production method, which before this, I kid you not, Porsche engineers would have to sift through parts bins and climb ladders to build a single car. And now Porsche and Toyota and a bunch of other manufacturers simply do nothing more and nothing less than what works. The Camry, for example, was basically the same car for 30 plus years. The Corolla, like ever since it became front-wheel drive. They've been using the same basic construction. If it hasn't been proven, they don't do it. We just talked about how Mercedes and BMW had constant problems because they are on the cutting edge. A simple solution to that is not to be on the cutting edge. Even the Prius, a technological marvel that revolutionized cars and taxi services, it was far from the first hybrid. They just took things that they knew really well, sedan making from the Camry experience, and merged it with technology that has been in development for decades. That kind of production has some huge benefits. First, it's cheap, right? If you only develop one thing for 30 years, it doesn't really cost that much to keep making it. Second, all the bugs were worked out long ago. And third, it gives people what they want. Now, you might think that everyone is all about speed, power, and tech, since you're a car enthusiast like me, and I don't know, that's all I want. But the average person out there, they just want a fridge that they can drive. They want an appliance, something that is familiar, runs forever, and doesn't have cutting-edge tech that breaks all the time. And maybe most importantly, it's super cheap to maintain and keep on the road. And if there's one thing that we know, people love cheap. That is exactly what Toyota gives them. But it goes deeper than that. And to understand, we gotta deep dive into that Toyota production system, which is a whole philosophy. Inside the minds of Toyota employees are three very important ideals: Jidoka, Kaizen, and Kanban. Jidoka means that the process starts with a human asking why. Like, why does this happen? How can it be better? It literally means automation, but in Japanese. Jidoka has the distinctly human connotation. In practice, it means that the new GR Corolla, before it even started being welded together by machines, a team of engineers actually hand-built one so that they would know exactly what had to be done and fix any problems ahead of time. And if you ever heard a mechanic or Scotty Kilmer praise Toyota for how easy they are to work on, this is why. They are built by people first, unlike most cars that people are just an afterthought. Second is Kaizen. Kaizen means incremental change for the better and is something instilled in every single employee. Seriously, from the guy tightening wheel nuts to the CEO, every single person is encouraged to look for problems and fix them, no matter how small. And if that means the car takes longer to build, well, who cares? Kaizen means that it's better to do something correct than fast. And the final product will be better if every person feels involved. Now, both of those philosophies are spreading way beyond Toyota, by the way. Kaizen especially. It's become a core principle in a lot of major tech companies because it works. finally, there's Kanban. Kanban is really widespread now, and I bet even you have practiced it without knowing. Literally, it means visual signal, but the practice of Kanban means just in time or lead pull system, as in you don't order a new part until you need it. There's a signal to tell you when a new part is needed, and it gets ordered automatically before you run out. You never have a big stockpile of unused parts. You probably use drop shipping. In fact, if you order one of our million subscriber shirts, you definitely have. And that's when we don't make the shirt until it's ordered, so that there's no wasted time. And that's Kanban. In Toyota land, that means that a car only gets finished when it's done. And that is just-in-time production, where there is no wasted time waiting for parts, no extra time waiting for a car to move out of the way, and for consumers, no need to worry about a car being assembled on a Friday, as the expression goes. These three philosophies have guided Toyota for nearly 100 years. And I don't know about you, but I think it's paying off big time. So why does Scotty Kilmer love Toyotas? Well, because there's really not a whole lot not to love. They make the cars that people, and now even more than ever, enthusiasts want. And Toyota's racing division GR coming out with a blockbuster hit like the GR Corolla shows how dedicated they are to everyone. They created an entire business philosophy around doing it right and only using proven technology. They are going to keep doing it too. You probably noticed that they haven't jumped on the electric train as hard as others because, well, they're sitting back, watching, waiting, researching, and learning until the time is right, and then boom. Now, yes, they have announced a whole line of EVs that are pretty much guaranteed to be better than anything else in their respective class. There's nothing too exciting yet. I mean, the BZ4X seems like a perfect daily, but it's boring and hard to pronounce. I'm hopeful that we're gonna see some serious performance monsters though, since the newest leads of Toyota, the third generation Mr. Toyota himself, has stated that they want people to be excited while driving Toyotas. That's why he personally worked with Gazoo Racing and helped develop five new cars that are just for driving pleasure. You got the 86, the TRD Camrys, the GR Yaris's, the Corollas, and now the new Supra with a manual 6-speed. I'm pretty sure they are just waiting until they know they can build a fast EV, and they're going to drop it on us when we least expect it. So keep watching Ideal, because yes, we will let you know as soon as we know. Otherwise, if you like this vid, hit the like button, also subscribe if you're new here, and check out our starter kit for overdrive videos. Or check out what YouTube thinks you should watch next. I'm Brad, this is Ideal, and promise me one thing, keep living the ideal lifestyle.